I have been coding for quite some time now. However, most of that just consisted of creating simple calculators and little-filled text adventure games. My dream was to create my own game. So, about 1.5 years ago, I started learning Unity. The first game turned out to be, well, as expected, miserable failures, and I have to admit that it hurts a little to look back at my old code. But I was getting better, and about half a year ago I felt cocky enough to start an ambitious project. A game about a group of thieves trying to steal objects from a variety of maps that are protected by a group of guards. And the game would have online multiplayer too. I worked very hard on the game, but I realized that it was just too difficult, so I gave up. Recently, I started looking into this project again, and since 2020 was a very sucky year, I want to start off 2021 with something fresh. So, here's my experience of creating my dream game, the Heist. I started out by creating a simple server. I went over a couple of solutions. For example, I tried using Photon or Mirror, two tools for online games inside of Unity. But in the end, I decided to create my own server from scratch, because I think it will give me more freedom in the future. I followed a bunch of great tutorials by Tom Weiland. I will link some down in the description. They were very helpful. I struggled a lot with understanding how everything worked at first, but since I worked with servers in my field project half a year ago, it didn't take long for me to pick everything up. After that, I created some simple player spawning and player movement. The player movement was a bit laggy, so to fix this I added a simple function that would lerp the player's position between its current one on the client side and the updated one on the server side. This did bring up some implication, like, for example, when you walk up against a wall, your player slows down before it actually hits it. That is because the player has actually already hit the wall on the server, but the client still shows it being a little bit away from it. But I don't think this will be that big of a deal in the future. After this, I added a simple flashlight that would shine into the direction the player last moved. The flashlight has a mask over it. This will make it so that any player entering the flashlight will be visible inside of the mask, however outside of the mask it will be invisible. This can be handy for the thieves later on. Currently, there is only one type of player, but don't worry, we will fix that later. The player should be able to pick a team and potentially swap maps before starting the match. So, it's about time I started working on a lobby. I came up with this little design. It's awful, I know, but it's just the bare essentials that we'll need right now. Currently, the server decides what team you're on, depending on your player ID. Every client has one assigned to it, and it's basically the number in the order in which they had connected to the server. In the future, people should be able to swap teams freely, but that's something we'll worry about later. When a player enters a lobby, the server spawns something that is called a lobby player. The lobby player contains every bit of information necessary, like whether the player is a guard, what slot he is in, or whether or not he's the host of the lobby. The server exchanges this information with the clients that are in or joining the lobby. When this happens, the client can use this information to visualize it just like this. We still need a way to get from the lobby into the game, so I just made a big ol' start button. When the start button is clicked, a message is sent from the client to the server that then tells every other client to enter the game. We only want the host to be able to start the game, so we make sure the server checks if the player pressing the button is actually the host. And, for the others, we make sure that they have no button to press on in the first place. That's about all of the progress I made so far. In the next few weeks, I want to improve the more visual side of the game, so I will be working on creating some art and animations. I know that this project will probably be way too big, and I know that I will eventually fail, but I think it can be a great learning experience, and I think devlogging my progress will give me a feeling of responsibility that will keep me motivated throughout the game. I am really excited to work on this project, and I hope to see you again too.